Hey, I'm Travis Engel, gear editor at Bike Mag. I'm here with Anthony Smith, photo editor, and we're here to talk about a new suspension gadget from Trek called Thru Shaft. There's a lot of tech stuff out there. You can check out our site for an explanation. Trek's got some stuff on theirs. But in a nutshell, what Thru Shaft is, it eliminates the internal floating piston. So internal floating piston, or IFP, is at the bottom of the oil chamber. There is usually a little sprung piston. Usually it's sprung by nitrogen charge. And the reason for that is, for one thing, thermal expansion. The oil heats up, you need something to make up for that. But also, when the damper valve assembly gets pushed through the oil chamber, it's pushed by a rod. And that rod gets introduced into the chamber and it takes up more volume, and there needs to be something to make up for that volume. So what Thru Shaft does is it puts a little extra kind of dummy shaft on the other side of that valve assembly, and when it compresses, it pushes that Thru Shaft out the bottom of the oil chamber and then pulls it back in when the shock rebounds. And that keeps the oil volume constant, and it does a few things. So it, for one thing, gets rid of the little bit of stick and slip that goes on with that valve, but it also gets you a little more direct, pure feeling of the damping. And man, I was pretty skeptical when I heard about this.
Me as well, actually. And you know, like truth be told, I was a bit blindsided by having to ride this bike, and I didn't know much about the technology. You had been with Trek and got the whole presentation and everything, and so I was skeptical. But it is something you notice, and it's for me the thing I came out of the ride thinking is just traction. You just have that traction. You just feel like you're stuck to the ground. Lot of control with that rear shock and the rear wheel. It's tangible. You can feel it, you know? Yeah.
And I think a little bit about reactive, and the reason that, because I agree, I was like, this is just going to be, another little baby step, but
Totally.
reactive was not.
Yeah.
So a little bit about reactive. Basically, it's a valve that opens up really quickly on quick impacts, but stays much firmer under slow impacts. And it just is done in just kind of a new way. And the Thru Shaft really, I think it shines in connection with reactive, because it's that impact to open up the valve and not having the IFP, and really makes that impact a lot more direct. And we got to spend some time on the traditional reactive shock and this one, and on those quick things, the stuff that reactive really shines on. It just keeps the tire on the ground.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I think the thing that I've always had a hard time wrapping my head around with the reactive shock is that thing you're saying, is like the quick impact and opening up. It's not something you feel. You don't feel a lag or anything. It's like it is instantaneous. It's like it's not something you even think about in that traction you get when you're like going into really chunky stuff, or like the rear shock is just activating. It's there. It's instant. It's the wheels on the ground. It's traction and control. Yeah.
It's not like some brands have experimented with inertia valves and everything.
Exactly. Like if you think about those older generations of those inertia valves that didn't really have that instantaneous feel,
Yeah, I mean, the reactive was borrowed from Formula One racing, a company called Penske that's been doing high-end suspension tuning for a while. And they actually invented it because they outlawed computer-controlled suspension damping. So they needed something that was organic, but just as instant.
Yeah.
And I think they really do it. And there's really no cost to the performance of it. Where the shaft comes out of the bottom of the shock, there's really no drag in that seal, or at least there's a lot less drag than there is around an IFP. And the service intervals are the same as on a traditional shock. I'm not going to say that it's as revolutionary as reactive, but man, it definitely gives it a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was fun to be able to, for when I rode the bike, I was doing one track I'm really familiar with it. I can ride it really fast. It's fast, wide open, chunky, rocky, and just swapping the shocks back and forth, run after run. And yeah, like I said, it's tangible. That difference is tangible in the control and performance is a notch up, and it like you said, it's not revolutionary, but it's something you can feel and adds to the ride, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
So this is proof that we don't have to be afraid of innovation. It's there to help us.
Well, we can still be afraid.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
But not of this.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching.